it's good. We're going to talk. Let me see if I can
Well,
get Ann on,
if
and
if
get
you
into
need to
this.
do if you need a bio break, I can chat with Ann for a little bit while you do that.
Dude, that's going to happen right now. That is. Hey, Ann, how you doing? I am
I'm
going
good.
to. Yeah, this is going to be great. Because if there's two people I trust to like get myself out of the, I literally said I'm going to go away. I'm going to take a 10-minute break right here. Dr. John, Ann, you are the smartest person in all of Digital Church. I don't know if I've ever told you that. Dr. John is number two. Ann is number one. Jason Morris is a close third. That's what I'm going to go with right now. Um, I'm going to push a button in mute. Y'all talk. I'll be back here in a little bit. Okay? Thank you. Let me see if this works. Bye.
All right, bye. Oh, perfect, perfect. Listen, isn't that crazy how like now it's me and you. Now it's me and you, and
Exactly.
for those who are watching this stream right now, um, man, Ann and I have had a lot of communication online and in each other's groups and things like that. And Jeff has brought us together in different projects and things like this. But I don't think we've even had a conversation like directly. We're just talking about what we do um, in a long, long time. I know we did a Zoom early on, because were you in an Oksana workshop at Exponential? Is that how I got connected with you?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So an Oksana workshop at Exponential on church growth some kind of way, and it's like, yeah, Ann Bossard, she's interested in digital stuff, and y'all need to connect. So we connected on Zoom. Man, that seems like forever ago now. Forever
It
ago.
it really does.
so um, So tell us a little bit about, I mean, on the one hand, the name of your ministry. Jeff mentioned it early on, but the name of your ministry, your website, and kind of some of your 2024 highlights so far.
For sure. So I get the opportunity to lead a nonprofit ministry called Digital Discipleship. And we operate in over 50 different countries all around the globe doing discipleship digitally. And we have the opportunity to do small groups. We do daily discipleship with readings and things like that. And we also, from all of the connections that we've made across the globe, we have had the opportunity to develop a child sponsorship program in Uganda. And so we have people putting their discipleship into action through Victory Children's Outreach. So we exist on Facebook and on WhatsApp, on YouTube, on TikTok, on just a lot of different platforms. And we are all about developing community and relationships that we can use to leverage for discipleship making. And so that's what we do through three platforms. We have Becoming More, which is our small group for men and women that we do seasonally. We have the online chapel, which is where we do daily discipleship and weekly worship. And then we have Victory Children's Outreach, which is where we put our discipleship into action through child sponsorship in Uganda. And we work specifically in Jinja and Mitiana, Uganda, and have 86 kids sponsored as of
Wow.
today. Yes. So,
Wow.
yeah.
you know, I when you hear Anne share these kinds of stories, you have to know that Anne is in Georgia, and all of this stuff is happening through digital communication.
Yeah.
And so when people want to ask, how is digital discipleship possible? Can you develop genuine connections and relationships with people online? What Anne has been doing through all the different meetings that you just heard her say is like textbook what God can do if you don't put him in a box.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, um, What are some of the highlights? What are some, as you look back at 2024, what are some of the things that stand out to you as huge 2024 God wins through the digital discipleship that you've been doing?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have really seen grow in 2020 is our ministry and digital community on WhatsApp. For people that are not in the US, WhatsApp is a platform that you are used to using. But for people who are in the US, WhatsApp is not a program or a platform that we tend to think about in terms of how we operate and how we kind of exist online. But for our global people, that is the primary way that we stay connected with them.
Yeah.
And so we have seen a growth in our geographic WhatsApp groups. So we have one big WhatsApp group that is just a global group. And then we have other leaders that we have tasked to lead different geographic areas so they can minister in their own language, so they can have physical gatherings if they want to from time to time. So we have, I think now we're at 17 different WhatsApp groups, and many of those are in Africa. We have quite a few in Uganda. We have a couple in Kenya. We have Zimbabwe. We have Mozambique. We have Zambia. We have Botswana. We have Pakistan. So we just have different WhatsApp groups that are led by local leaders who are doing teaching, who are developing their own little leadership teams within their WhatsApp group. And so I'm not the primary teacher. I do a little teaching every day, but then they have people that will speak into that and who will lead contextually speaking in their particular area. So I think that is one of the big things that we have leaned into in 2024 that
Wow.
has been so amazing and produced so much fruit. So we, even this week, we have one of our leadership team from the US is over in Uganda doing some work with some of our groups there. And so they're
Wow.
meeting in person. So the digital moves in person, and they are beginning to have some conferences and things like that over the next couple of days. So it's just really beautiful the way that God intertwines and intermingles the
Yeah.
hybrid ministries, that you can exist both digitally and in person, and it's just you in both platforms. It's just
Yeah.
genuinely, honestly, you developing relationships with people. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You literally just gave a real life example and even case study of what Jeff just got through talking about when he was talking about the experience that he had at Luzon, and how they're wanting him to share content in these multiple languages. There's like 7 languages, and so through some AI stuff, he can put training and translate it and stuff like that. But the point that he was trying to make is that he's not trying to have his or other people's content be the main content for everyone, but to be the content to train basically the leaders. Because what AI can't do in just translating his video or our videos is provide cultural context for the content. Leaders would actually have to do that. And so it's one thing to take that content and train the leaders, and then those leaders can take that information and apply it contextually in their culture, however they need to do it appropriately for them. But so that, and that's what you're doing. And so uh, yeah. So I don't know, Jeff, if you heard what Ann just said about the WhatsApp groups, but I
Yeah.
was kind of echoing. You see the connection. Well, you were just
Yeah.
saying that, like that's what she's doing in
Yeah.
WhatsApp, and the multiplication of that is just amazing. I think that's part of the empowering mentality that moves the mission forward when you're releasing people, and trusting them, right? Trusting
Yes.
them to do that. That's huge, and that's a big part of what I'd like to see us, see more of in the in-person American church. But obviously, it works really, really well in digital spaces. That's a great example of
Beautiful.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were. It's Andy's got a question he asked in YouTube, and so I'll get there in a second. But a lot of this, the third smartest person, Jason Morris, talks about this idea of digital imperialism, right? Where it's not the white man coming to save the day. Jason and I are both white bald men with beards. Kind of made fun of ourselves earlier today on the stream, but like the last thing we want to do is to portray that. And so being very hypersensitive to contextualization, to involving more people in the conversations. There was oh my gosh, there from Lazan. I think Lazan released it. There was an interview with Rick Warren. Rick Warren actually did like he was talking about on this video where he did like hundreds of hours of research on the attempted global movements that have existed historically. And he went into documenting on this video why they failed. And one of the reasons they failed, and this is Rick Warren, this isn't Jeff Reed. Rick Warren, there's a bunch of old white men thinking they knew what they were doing when they didn't. And so the opportunity, Rick Warren freaking said that on YouTube. Go to Lazan's channel. And so to understand, and I think I sent it to you because it was like so impactful for me when I saw it. I was like, oh crap, like this is actually happening. But to realize that we have to be open-handed with this for it to catch on, and it has to be contextualized beyond what we individually can do. So off of that, let me ask this question. Andy, a question for both of you. Looking at WhatsApp, by the way, 2 billion people globally utilize WhatsApp. I heard you guys talking about it. 25% of the world's population actively use that on their phones now. There's a language barrier because it's primarily English. So like it's English, it's American people using it to communicate beyond. Now, we're using English to train the trainers, so to speak, like with our videos. How do we contextualize the community level beyond English? What does it look like? Anne, have you experienced any of that, moving the asynchronous communities beyond English into other languages?
So I think one of the things that our leaders do in some of these groups, especially when there are people that are on there that primarily would not speak English, is they will take the teachings and the things that we have posted and done, and they will actually repost it in their native language. And so they are contextualizing the things that we have learned, the things that we're talking about, and they're putting it in their context with examples that pertain to them. So when I do any kind of teaching, my philosophy is just Jesus. Like, I'm not giving any kind of big examples about anything. I'm just strictly teaching Jesus, the gospel. I'm trying to be just as simple and clear as I possibly can be so that it can fit in with any kind of context. So when you watch my teachings, I'm not going to use a lot of personal examples or a lot of contextual examples that make sense to me, like I would if I was speaking to a congregation in person. I'm going to use more contextual things. But when I know that it's going out to a global audience, I'm going to give them just Jesus. And so that allows them then to interpret it and to contextualize it for their own needs. And sometimes that looks like posting in a different language, or we have, leaders who are calling on and equipping other leaders to come in and post in those groups. And there are a lot of times that I will listen to some of their teachings and not know what they've said. Not the first thing, because I don't speak that language, but I trust my leaders. And so I know that what they're getting is good. And so it really is being very open-handed with things and releasing that control to say, God has sent me these leaders. I trust these leaders to lead well and let God lead them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally
Yeah,
and completely. Go ahead, John.
Because we see that in Scripture. Yeah, it makes sense. We see that. That's what Jesus did. he told them over and over, guys, I'm getting ready to leave. This is going to
Yeah.
be in your hands. And it's not because they knew it all and had it all figured out. And Peter was still saying crazy stuff. And it was,
Yeah.
but he just really trusted that the Holy Spirit was going to help them work through what they needed to work through. And it didn't require perfection in order to be effective.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So good. Well, Anne, let me ask this, and Dr. John, I'll follow up with both of you all, a couple questions as we're wrapping up. So, how did the church? I know this is a selfish plug here. I apologize, but how did Church Digital help you guys? As you were starting, and you've have a stable foundation you've built on this, and honestly, at some level, what you're doing in Africa, you're a little ahead of where we are in this, and you've had a strong focus and a stable team coming out. And Dr. John, what you've built through the Facebook is beautiful as well. I just would love a little even self introspection on my side. Like, how did we help you in your journey to get where you are now? Anne, you want to start?
Sure. So I had a really rough time about 6 months into starting one of our ministries, the online chapel. And I ended up leaving the church that I had been a part of for 14 years because they didn't understand this digital platform that I was on, and they didn't understand the digital journey that I was on. And so I walked away from a job. I walked away from my family there, and kind of did this thing on my own and started this nonprofit. And Jeff, just your support, knowing that I had a community of people that understood what I was doing, that was the thing that helped to heal my soul, because I really was in a tough place, a tough space personally, because I had so many people that didn't understand it. They said, and these relationships that you think you're building, they're with people that are not real. And I'm like, I promise you they're real. We really are doing discipleship. We really are doing good things. And so for me, the Church Digital just gave me a sense of, okay, Anne, you're not alone. This is a family. These are your people, and they get you. And there's nothing wrong with you. You're doing good stuff. So it was so healing and helpful for me, just on a soul level, on an emotional level, definitely content, but even more for me was just knowing I have that community and friends, and that family that gets me, was the big thing for me.
Yeah, your Tope's actually in chat right now in YouTube, and he's like, "I feel you, and been there too."
Yeah.
And so, a mutual friend in Nigeria, he actually had problems with his internet. He wasn't able to join the stream earlier
Ah,
today. But yeah, I was really disappointed. Dr. John, what's your take?
Yeah, I would agree with what Ann was saying. I think the validation that we're not crazy, that this is, even though because pioneering can be lonely
Yeah,
and you can second guess yourself a lot. But even when you feel like this is what God is saying, this is what God has told me to do, it cannot. I think encouragement is underestimated. The power of it is underestimated. That pioneers need encouragement because as they're moving forward, they're losing a lot of other relationships. They're losing a lot of other credibility and trust that used to be there. That as ministers, you spend a lot of years building up, you
yeah,
know. But at some point, when God calls you to go out, then you have to do that, and there is some loss that's there. And so when you lose some relationships, but then other new relationships begin, they feel a very needed void there. And then again, just the mental support, spiritual support, the words of encouragement, and then a whole new community. Like, wait, one of the things that was really depressing for Elijah, he's like, I'm the only one. And God was like, no, you're not the only one who has not bowed their knee to Baal. I have I have hundreds of others, and so the Church Digital is like there are hundreds of others. Like you're not the only ones. Like, wait a minute, this is amazing. And so what it does with that community is that it helps us breed more confidence
Yes.
in going forward and trying new things. And that confidence, I think, is also the horsepower behind perseverance. That when stuff gets hard, we won't easily quit and go, "Yep, they were right. I shouldn't have done it." That community and that confidence is like when things get hard, it's supposed to get hard. It's okay. God's with us. Others are enduring the same thing. And there's a space for us to share some best practices and to kind of, encourage one another. So it cannot be, when we're doing what people like this are doing, community cannot be overestimated. It's so
Yeah.
important, and there's so many aspects to it. So, and before I leave, I just want to say that Anne is my digital discipleship mentor. She doesn't even know it, but she is my hero. And I will say this, Anne, and you'll know what this means. I won't go through the whole story. You'll know what this means. A couple weeks ago, I was doing a Zoom with some folks in Pakistan. And you remember, I was like, yeah. And so stars for relationships there. I got another one coming up, and so the same group, and so it's like I said, I really thank God for what you're doing, and I know we don't talk a whole lot, but that's the way with digital spaces. You can just watch somebody and learn a lot from them without even
Yep.
saying a whole lot. And so that's what Anne is a true pioneer in digital discipleship for sure, and especially online and in the hybrid. And that's just looking what God's doing. It's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. So yeah,
Well,
Very
thank you.
cool.
What a treat to get to spend some time with both of you guys today.
Yeah.
yeah.
But before Ann goes, I want to ask two questions, and this is a plug. Somebody in chat say that these two should do a regular stream together, and we'll try to make that happen in 25. Just saying, like really, 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 really good. But Ann, we ask two questions of everybody when they're on the stream here. Number one, and let me actually look. Can missions be digital?
Absolutely, missions can be digital. I think about Victory Children's Outreach, which is part of digital discipleship. And more than a sponsorship organization, we connect people digitally through WhatsApp video calls. So our sponsor parents get to talk to our kids that they're sponsoring, and so they develop relationships, which is what discipleship is. So can missions be digital? Absolutely. They can certainly be digital.
Awesome. And last question before we let you go: can the church exist digitally?
Absolutely it can, because people live both in person, in in-person flesh relationships, but then we have a digital presence, almost every single one of us. There are very few of us that do not exist online digitally. So
Hmm.
why would we as the church not meet people where they are? Why would we say you can only come to this one physical location and then the rest of the time you're on your own? Why wouldn't we say, hey, we want to be right where you are, right when you need us, and we want to meet you in the place where you hang out, we want to meet you in the place where you live? So I think that not only can we, but we have a responsibility to, if we really care about discipling people their whole lives and not just on a Sunday morning.
Very good. And Dr. John, two of the three smartest people in digital church. Thank you for jumping on the stream here with the time. And my apologies for the communication issue, but glad you came in. And Dr. John, thanks for covering. That was really nice. I was able to get some coffee, eat a boiled egg, and now I'm energized and ready to go for the next one. So thank you all for being here, and God bless.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.